Again, some of the scenes from Kemerovo on Sunday as flames race through the Winter Cherry Shopping Center, the shops, the cinema, the children's play area, all at the time packed with people. Russia is swept up with grief today, and people are demanding answers as to how that happened. Even the Russian president is talking about that this morning. Chris Brown, once again in Moscow, with the latest for us. And Chris, I know there has been some investigation.
We're certainly seeing a lot of anger. There is, yes, a very large memorial of flowers and cards, and people are coming to visit and just basically be with others who've suffered in this tragedy. But we're also seeing very large protests in Kemerovo's main square today. People calling on the government to come clean, basically. People don't believe a number of things. They don't actually even believe the number of victims that are supposedly killed in this. The official number is 64 with 41 children, but many there believe it's actually well into the hundreds. One story today I think is really sticking out above all others. It involves a man named, they had gone in for the day, the kids were off, and he got a call from his wife saying they were locked inside the movie cinema. They couldn't get out, they were suffocating. His sister called his mom. I mean, it's just heartbreaking to hear. He's really become a lightning rod for protest in this. I'll just read you something he posted on his Facebook page. "My family is no more. The ruling regime is to blame. Every official dreams to steal like Putin. Every civil servant treats people as dirt." He's suggesting that corruption was endemic, not just at the low levels of the people who were responsible for the inspections, for the fire safety regime, all of that, but he's saying the president was set right up at the very highest level of Russia's government, that's Vladimir Putin. And what's unusual about this is that Russia obviously has had a lot of tragedies, a lot of fires, and many scores of deaths, but Putin has not really been personally blamed. It's been governors and mayors and so forth that have taken the fall, but he stood with his megaphone and personally blamed the Russian president for this, and that is very different. And notably, the state media today has not been covering those protests. They've been focusing on Vladimir Putin as he made his visits to the victims in the hospitals.
And as we're looking at those pictures there, Chris, as he made that visit to the memorial and left flowers as well, Putin himself, I mean, that family's story, 5 family members, 3 children, the fact of the children, 41 of 64 dead in this. We talked about how this took place at the start of essentially their spring break. Just come back to the children and how that is really galvanizing both the anger and the grief that you mentioned.
Well, look, we talked. There was also anger about the actual number of children that were killed and what the government was admitting to here. It actually took a visit by an independent Russian journalist to the morgue and counting out the body bags with the children in them before that number of 41 was finally arrived at, and that's why there's so much anger and so much suspicion about the actual numbers in this, and why, you know, there's this bottom of it, but really the main story, I think, was out in the streets and this backlash.